All right, all right. Welcome, 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 powerful people, for another episode of Powerful. We are so very, very excited because we have a treat for you. We have a special person in the house today, and we're so very, very excited about it. We're going to keep on talking to you because we want you to grow yourself. So, this episode, we're still going to be talking about understanding yourself, and again, being honest with yourself, being very, very truthful with yourself. And so, do you know all that there is to know about you so you can be the best version of yourself? Well, I have with me today my guest, Rasathi. She is all the way from Singapore, and she is an emotional intelligence coach. So she's going to be sharing some information with you, and I'm excited. I'm ready to glean some different things. We'll be right back with you right after this word from our sponsor. Have you ever wondered if you were truly fulfilling your total life's purpose? Growing yourself isn't something to shy away from. Investing in yourself is the best investment ever. At Exponential Edge Adventures, we specialize in helping women better understand their superpowers, gain insight into blind spots, and leverage their uniqueness. We desire to serve women who have had career disappointments and life setbacks, but have a growth mindset to use tiny habits to position them for greater possibilities. Who do you know that's ready to take flight? Book a consultation with us today. Go to simplytomorrow.com. All right, all right. Welcome, welcome back, people. We're very excited. As I told you, we have a dynamic guest. I just don't call on her as an expert. I actually call her my friend. And so we have with us Rasathi. Rasathi, tell the people about yourself.
Thank you so much, Ms. Bridget, for having me. For those of you who don't already know, my name is Rasathi. I am the host of the Night Owl podcast, and I don't know, I'm kind of obsessed with emotional intelligence. So I talk about feelings all day long, those things nobody want to talk about. But yeah, that's basically what I do for a living.
And she gonna cut it off like that. It's a whole lot more about her, you all. I will say this, that literally she has helped sharpen me. I love the scripture where it says iron sharpens iron. So does the countenance of a friend. I literally am a better version of me because she's always challenging me. And we're going to talk about that at the end, how you can reach out to her. And if you need help in this area, that area, I promise you, my girl Rasathi got you. She got you. She got you. So let's go ahead and get into this talk then, since you wanted to be real short with your, intro. That's okay. We're going to get it on the other side, you all. We're going to get her to really give you that powerhouse wisdom, which that's what she's really, really good at. She can take a regular statement, and when you're done, you're like, wow, who wrote that thesis? Who wrote that? Just really, really incredible wisdom. And so let's talk about that. As I said in my previous episodes, I was talking about people being their authentic selves. And the caption or the little tagline was, will the real blank please stand up? Off the game show, to tell the truth. And I know with you being a emotional intelligence coach, that you have to talk to people all the time about, number one, having that self-awareness and understanding themselves, but being totally honest about that. So how do you get people to do that?
Oh my goodness, it's so hard because don't nobody want to admit all those deep, dark things that they think, quietly in the privacy of their own mind. But usually it's because I have created a safe space, which means that I've shown them in one way or another, whether it's a post on Instagram or, a live video that I've done. They know from the way that I speak that I've been a couple places, I've seen a couple things. And so I'm not in any position to judge anyone. And with that intro, I feel like they are willing to risk it. They're willing to sit in a corner with me and talk about the things that bother them, that they don't want anyone else to know, or the things that they're wondering if they're going, they're losing their sanity or not because they feel a certain way, but then no one else around them feels that way. What's going on? So for me to be able to get people to open up means I have to show them that I've been where they are, that I've literally walked through fire like they're about to do. They're wondering if they should or shouldn't. And I'm telling you, you know what? Yeah, I've been there. I know what this is going to look like. It may be different for you, but I'll be right here with you as you figure out this, this minefield that you're about to walk into.
I love it. I love it. And even dealing with that emotional intelligence, to be honest with you, and I've shared this before on my podcast. I definitely shared on other platforms that I've been on and everything. I didn't really know a lot about emotional intelligence till recently, in the past, I would say less than 7 years, about 6 years ago, to really, really dive deeply into it. Well, maybe a little bit longer than 6, so maybe about 7 years. But I didn't understand it. I didn't know really what it was. And it was crazy because here I am running a multi-million-dollar organization, dealing with a team of people, and I've had teams of people. My largest school, I had like almost 70 staff members under me.
Oh, wow.
And 700 students. But I didn't understand or know really about emotional intelligence. Why is there a lack of people knowing about something that's so vital for us to be successful as human beings?
I think because it's difficult to describe, first of all, and then difficult to teach. I think we all depend on logic because logic is quantifiable. You can measure it. You talk about SMART goals all the time. You can measure it. You can put a time limit on it. You can, write out all the steps to get to where you want to be. But when it comes to something like, I want to be happy. Well, okay, well, what does that look like? What makes you happy? I don't know, but I want to be happy. Okay, well, let's talk. As we go through school, right, we're conditioned to think in specific patterns, and specific logic is used to make our decisions, whether it's good or bad. Does this hurt anybody? Does it not hurt anybody? Are you only doing it to benefit yourself, or does it benefit other people? Like, there's a lot of logic that we're taught, right? But I feel like if we went back before we actually entered the school systems, if you ask a little kid what makes them happy, they could tell you. They know exactly what makes them happy. They want ice cream. They want a box to sit in and draw all over because that makes them happy. That keeps them occupied. But as we grow older and we're told that some of the things that we like aren't appropriate, maybe, or to feel beautiful in a specific kind of clothing maybe is not appropriate for our culture. Like, once we're conditioned to think a certain way so we fit in, like we're homogenized, we kind of lose that understanding of who we really are. Think about, like, when you get into a relationship, you have to put aside a little bit of your individuality to kind of become part of a whole, right? You're part of a partnership now. But how much of you do you still keep? A lot of our parents put aside every one of their dreams. They're very happy to tell you, oh, I sacrificed all of this for you. But then they also are a little bit bitter, but you know what I'm talking about. See,
I was like, stop talking about me. I just said that to my kids last week. Go ahead.
But you do it out of love, and you want to show them that, hey, you know what? You are so important to me that I would do this for you. But that's not what they hear. Well, I didn't ask you to do that is the most common response to, oh, well, I did this for you, though. But whether they know it or not, they did ask for it. Whether they said it in so many words or not, they did ask for that. This is how I know you love me, and I'm hoping you do it without me having to ask you. But when you tell me about it and suddenly I feel shamed for that, I feel some kind of way. And in my defense, I never asked you. So this is what emotional intelligence is. This is what it means to kind of dig into your shadows and all those deep, dark places that you don't really like yourself so much, you don't want to admit it. But if you don't admit it, you can't move forward either.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love what you first started off talking about, because again, being an educator and, again, my staff and everything, we had a person come in to do some professional development with my team. And, he was asking questions, how many people knew this or knew that. And we're sitting all looking around. Now, mind you, within that room, we had like a whole lot of education, a whole lot of degrees, but we didn't understand quite or comprehend even when he began to start it. It took some months for us to really get into it, to embrace the power in emotional intelligence. We knew, again, the cognitive side, And we were trained on how to do that. And then we were trained on pedagogy. So we knew how to teach,
Yes.
how to lead, how to do all of that. But we didn't know how to tap into that other power realm of the emotional side, the humanistic side. And
Yep.
again, when we started doing that, we started seeing some growth. So go ahead. What were you going to say?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Honestly, I feel like, yeah, you're right. If you look at a classroom, when you have a first grade class, I know you had to substitute a first grade class the other day, right? You have all these kids, first time in classroom, trying to figure out what their place is, how to measure success. But the number one role of the educator is to give them a commonality to work from. They all have to speak English. They all have to have a set of grammar that they understand. They know their alphabet. So you have to teach them this groundwork first before they can start to build on that and then add more knowledge. But imagine, if you will, if we were to teach emotional intelligence instead of logic. Now you're dealing with, okay, every one of you know exactly what it feels like to feel jealous.
Yeah.
But can every one of you tell me exactly what causes jealousy? No, because everyone's experience of jealousy is different. What triggers jealousy in you is going to be different than what triggers jealousy in me, right?
Yeah.
But you know what the feeling is. If we were to come from that aspect, like, okay, let me teach you about all the feelings, are you willing to admit in a classroom that, oh, I don't understand the question. Oh, I actually experienced this and it doesn't feel good. Is that okay or not? Like, who are we to say what's okay or not? It just is. You feel this because this is what you think is supposed to happen, and that's not the way it happened. And now we got to figure out, okay, well, where did you get that idea from? Who gave you that belief? And is it something that still fits you, or are you ready to kind of like shed that and get a new one?
Exactly, exactly. And that's so very important. I love how you said, we put aside the cognitive and we're starting to see that more. We're starting to see that
Yeah.
more in educational institutions. We're starting to hear people talk more about mindfulness, where we're starting to see again schools that are teaching the emotional and the behavioral aspects. We spent a lot of energy on behavioral. We would see that, but now we're connecting it with not just teaching it as the do's and don'ts of what to do, but
Mm-hmm.
understanding the why behind it. And so
Yes.
when I share with people about emotional intelligence, I'm always looking at, 5 areas. And so
Mm-hmm.
especially, and you said bringing it to the children. I take it there because they're going to be our future. And if we
Mm-hmm.
don't do that, and for those of us that are adults, that we have to unlearn some things now, and we have to act like children. But we want to be self-aware. We want to have
Mm-hmm.
self-regulation. We want to have self-motivation. We want to have social skills, and we want to have empathy. And so when you just said what you just said a minute ago, it made me think about that empathy. I don't know how to empathize if, number one, I'm not totally aware of who I am and how I interact with the world. And again, having that understanding of my emotions, that, a lot of times we don't want to be angry. We don't want to be mad. We don't want some of those harsh emotions, but
Mm-hmm.
we experience them. And so
They're
embracing
necessary.
that so that we can be our own authentic self.
Exactly. I mean, think about it. You've had examples of emotional intelligence in the classroom before. If you think about, I mean, there have been so many movies: Dangerous Minds,
Mhm.
Stand and Deliver, Lean on Me. What was Coach Carter, any of those football movies? What made the coach so lovable? He saw his team as individual humans going through an individual human experience. And when he treated them as such,
Mhm.
they were able to open up and tell the coach, what was actually going on so that he could address that. Even Michelle Pfeiffer in Dangerous Minds was able to treat the kids like they were actual humans, not that they were their economic status, that they were, their heritage, their culture, their race, their color, their none of that. She saw them as a child who was going through something, probably not of their own choosing. And when they were able to speak to them like there was dignity there, they were able to open up and actually give them a little bit more so that there was context now for why they behaved the way that they did. This is the best way they knew how. So all these coping mechanisms come into play. So I think it's really, really important that people understand just how much of a difference emotional intelligence could make in your life. Like that peace of mind, oh my gosh, we don't give it enough importance at all.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Again, we don't pay. We do a lot in our lives to increase our IQ.
Mhm.
But we don't do a whole lot to increase our EQ. And when we try to have a good balance of the two, then we can have a really good life. And we can, again, be like I said, will the real, authentic you please stand up? We can stand up when we're being totally, totally honest. And so as we close out, I want to, want you to elaborate a little bit on this, because again, this was a struggle, for me in that area, being aware that it's okay to feel, number one.
Mhm.
And so I guess I do two part. I had a hard time, again, I'm a minister. A lot of people know that I'm a minister. So I had a hard time when I would get angry and upset, and I'd get mad at myself because I'm like, I shouldn't be doing this because I'm supposed to love. And until I got to the point where I embrace, but I'm human, so I'm going to go through the emotion. Now it's what I do with it that then can get me into other areas. But to actually experience it, if I had something that was disappointing, heartbreaking, traumatic, there's going to be some very strong emotions that come with that. So let's address that first, and then I'll do the second part.
Absolutely. So let me take a very simple, like something that everybody can understand. Let's do anger,
Uh-huh.
right? Somebody says something and you get angry. The fact that you get angry is your spirit telling you that something is wrong here. There is a boundary violation. Whether you set the boundary or it was understood, there was a boundary violation. How dare this person speak this way to me? How dare they judge me? And it's not a bad thing at all. So for you to shy away from the, I'm mad at you, I don't want to talk to this person anymore, I want to push them away, I'm going to cut them off, I want to like destroy whatever, that anger, it comes from somewhere. And the level of anger will tell you how big a boundary that was that they stepped over. So the first thing I would ask you to do is, okay, what do you feel like they did to you? Why are you angry? For instance, I had a conversation with somebody the other day, and it took me a lot of courage to actually put the fact that I was, rebuilding my business out in the public. And when this person messaged me privately and said, what makes you think you can teach this? Because you don't have the certifications that I have, and I've had this many years and this many certifications, and this is all the things that I've done. You need to be careful because you have people's lives in your hands. And I said, okay, I understand where you're coming from. Yes, I need to love that person because they were brave enough to say that to me, but I need to love myself first. I am not professing to be the master of the universe. I'm not telling you that I know every answer. I have no idea. I'm the master of my experience.
Yeah.
And from my experience, because everything that I've learned, I turned inwards first. I did not learn and get certifications to teach other people. I learned to teach myself.
Yeah.
And from that regard, I know that you looking at me, judging me, is telling me that you are insecure about the fact that how can I teach without all the certifications that you have? Does that invalidate all of your years of study and experience? No, it does not,
Sure.
because 4 + 4 is 8 and 3 + 5 is also 8.
Mm.
So with that being said, you said, you know what, I'm supposed to love. I should not be angry at this person. Yeah, but you're supposed to love you first.
Yeah.
So when you
Wow.
get angry, please love yourself and be like, oh my God, you know what? I have been hurt.
Mhm.
And it is possible. Humans hurt each other, sometimes willingly, sometimes unwittingly. But when you get hurt, you got to allow the anger to speak to you so it can point to where
Yeah.
you need to strengthen a boundary. You
Yeah.
need to strengthen some communication. It means some ugly conversations sometimes, but they need to be had, because otherwise we're all assuming things about each other.
Mhm. That is so true. You hit it on the nail right there. That's the piece. And again, I don't do it now. And it's funny because now people judge me that now I'm on the other side of it. And I'm like, no, nobody gets the right to tell me how I should feel or even handle it, especially when it's being appropriate and it's not inappropriate. But because you were used to it this way over here, doesn't mean that that was appropriate. And so I love that. So the last part that I was going to say, and you spoke on it a little bit, if you want to elaborate a little bit more, is about
Sure.
how do you help people be transparent then, when there is a hesitation to be, and you just said you did it, you allowed to that person to be able to express how they felt, and so again, you showed good social skills, you even had some empathy there,
That's emotional intelligence.
but
Yeah.
you had self-regulation. But most of all, you were self-aware, and then you did the self-motivation. No, I'm they cannot take away my identity to make their identity supersede. So I love that. So if you want to just unpack that a little bit more,
Sure.
how can you help people as our listeners are listening, when you know you need to be transparent, but at the same time, you need to be empowered too?
So part of that is, you said earlier that, people, no one has the right to tell me what to do. No, they don't have the right to force you to do anything, but they do have the freedom of speech, which means they can be right and wrong in public, which means once it comes out their mouth, you have the right to say something right back. Okay. So with that being said, yes, they will speak to you from their level of experience and maturity. This person, for all the years of experience and knowledge and work that she's put in, unfortunately showed me a piece of her that let me know that she was still worried about whether it was enough, because she's built her reputation on gathering as much as she can to prove that she is enough. I came at it from a standpoint of love because I know what that feels like. I've done that before in different areas of my life. And I realized that I will never know enough. And there will always be someone out there who will point fingers and question me and judge me because they think they can do it better, or they think they do it differently. And so if I do it different from them, it's wrong. It's not. So I had to put myself in a position of, okay, I see how she feels the way that she does. And it's not wrong, it's her experience. But I also know that if I were to take that on and accept what she is judging me for as the truth, now I get to start beating myself down. And that's not going to serve anybody. Now I'm blocking other people's blessings, people who need to hear it from me because they relate to me versus may not relate to this person. Everybody's story is necessary. Everybody has an audience, whether you know it or not. When you start to speak up, somebody out there needed to hear the way you said it, the way you told the story, the examples that you gave up. So I had to stop myself from going down the rabbit hole of, oh my gosh, do I know enough? Do I have enough certification? Should I be doing this stuff? Oh my God, maybe I don't know enough. Maybe I should stop this right now and cut it off and disappear. Because I've done that before. I did that most of last year because I was really worried that I was out there hurting people. But I also know that I needed that distance from doing all the time for people to show me that they missed me. So that's where the self-regulation came in. I had to spend time by myself. I had to recognize how much I have accomplished. Even though it's not Tony Robbins level, which I'm not going to get there. I don't want to be Tony Robbins, right? But I have something to share. And rather than trying to solve world peace, I'm trying to solve what's going on in my backyard. If you cross my path and I see that you're upset and I ask, hey, you're okay, and you feel safe enough to tell me, no, I'm not in a good place, I have the authority and the let's go grab a cup of coffee, let's talk about this. Because I know in that moment, I could maybe sort out some of those muddled feelings you're having. And maybe you can walk away with some clarity and not feel so burdened anymore. You put it down for a while.
Yeah, that's powerful. That is really, really powerful. And I love the fact that what you said about, everybody doesn't have to be other people. I actually just watched, and I don't know if it's been on there long or did Netflix just put it on here recently, but Tony Robbins has a Netflix episode.
I'm not a guru.
And, I'm not a guru. So I had never seen it before. And, I absolutely love a lot of stuff, and I quote Tony Robbins and stuff, but I really don't listen to him so much because I can't do all that profanity. I'm just like, Lord have mercy. Dude, can he say a word without using that?
He
but
can,
I said
but he wants that.
but he's reason why he said it, because he actually I'm not your guru. He actually told why he does it. It shocks, and he did. Because he used the B word with one lady, and I was like, but he
wanted her to be offended.
But it got her attention. And so, long story short, it's like, yeah, he is. But when I look at let's just do Steve Harvey. Steve Harvey does not have all of the and I don't want to use education. I don't want to use that word, but formal training. I think that would be better, because I don't want to insult, because it would be insult. He doesn't have all of that, but what he does have is a lot of experience, a lot of exposure, and he has a platform.
Yes.
And so when he speaks, he speaks just as well as this person over here, that person over there, the person with the PhD behind their name, and he can impact just as many people, because his experience is going to get you more than that paper.
And honestly, that's where Tony Robbins started. He started collecting stories from many people to see what the similarities and generalities are. And from there, he became an expert. So first of all, any expert starts off documenting their own journey.
Yeah. And it is amazing. I love his story because, again, he didn't have all of this pedigree and stuff like that. But he's made
saw
it
a lot of
that
things.
way. Yeah. And he did it because he wanted to get better and perfect it. But if he never did some of the things that he did, he still would be good because his experience, his trauma, he speaks from that. He really can speak from that. And so, thank you for all of that. And so let's tell the people about what's going on in your world, what's going on, and, share whatever you got going on. How can people reach out to you?
So I've tried really hard to create brand recognition. So if you were to go on Google and search Rasath1, which is RASATH1, you will find every platform that I'm on. I tried to make sure that it's the same everywhere. So that was like the number one thing that I wanted to accomplish. And then from there, I actually put out a lot of free content. So I'm on YouTube, I'm on Spotify. I'm now on Medium. I'm starting to blog post all over again and actually repurpose some of my content right there. Instagram is my number one. I love being on Instagram. I get a lot of, communication and interaction with people on Instagram. But more than that, I've started launching my my group courses as well as a correspondence course. I don't know if you remember this, Ms. Bridget, but back in the day, we had correspondence courses by mail. Do you remember? We get certifications by mail. So I started thinking, a lot of people don't like groups. They don't want to be in a group where people can see, your Facebook name and they recognize you and they go start following you. So, they don't want that kind of feeling. They want the privacy. And so I started the correspondence group because the idea behind the email, like you write an email based on a journal prompt that I give you, and I will respond back to it, which means I'm going to read everything you write and I'm going to tell you where you're being a little hard on yourself and maybe you might want to consider something else so it's easier for you. I did that because, first of all, people get spam mails all the time. They're not going to open your emails a lot of times. They got so many. But this way, it's something that's written specifically for you based on something you wrote back. And it's almost like a pen pal, but you get my insight. You get a chance to really kind of dig deeper and reveal some of the things that you maybe don't want the rest of the world to see. You don't want to write it down. It's like a Dear Diary, but with a response from somebody. Like, could you imagine that? So that's been getting a lot of really great reviews. I've done it with young men who are really trying to overcome that patriarchal idea that, they're not supposed to have feelings, but they're supposed to hold everything together with a hairpin and like a paper clip and, it'll be fine, just make the money. And we're trying to work through all of those because that's not the world we live in anymore. So group coaching, the correspondence course is open. I'm still taking on one-on-one clients if you're interested, but this is not one of those feel good, frou-frou kind of pages. If you come and look at it, we're going to deal with some of the things that no one really wants to talk about because we need to talk about them. We need to sort out what's right and what's wrong and what's traditional and what no longer fits because y'all got some unnecessary pressure on y'all.
And it's amazing to see we were talking offline before we came on live, and you were talking about book club that I just started. We're reading The High Five Habit by Mel Robbins, and it's amazing how she starts off with that book, and it's like she's saying that she really doesn't compliment herself. And so that's how this started. And she started the High Five Habit, which led to the book that she's doing. And she was really like overwhelmed. She had so much going on. She was working out a deal. And I think that probably was during the time when her talk show was kind of changing and things like that. And so she's doing all of this stuff and she wakes up in the morning and it's 6 o'clock and it's like blah. And she's just like, non-motivated and just didn't feel like giving her own self an attaboy. And from there, she started doing it. In a couple of days, she just said, wait a minute, me high-fiving myself and touching that mirror, touching me, my reflection is really working. But here's the part that I wanted to say, going what you said, and this is why it's crucial for people to reach out to people like you, to whatever coach, that you need a coach. We need people. And I tell people, my listening audience, I tell them this all the time: get your coach, and make sure when you get your coach that your coach is being trained and stuff too. But not like, I'm not talking about the formal stuff, but that you have a live person or people or group that is walking you through some stuff, because everybody has them. Even Oprah has coaches.
Because they're still walking. Yep.
Yeah. But the point that I was trying to make is that she is one of the most famous motivational people in the world, like in the world. But here she is, not able to even motivate herself. And so my point that I'm making is that even the most successful people still struggle with limiting beliefs. They still struggle with self-defeating thoughts. They struggle with the imposter syndrome. They still struggle with all of these things. And so if you're experiencing that, that's okay. That's why you got girls like my girl that can help you with that and everything. And that's why people like you exist. And so I hope people will reach out. All of the information for her will be inside of our show notes. And if you happen to be viewing this, because we have 2 platforms, you can watch it in audio, or listen to it rather in audio, on all podcast platforms that are out there. It's available. In addition, we are also on YouTube. And so if you're watching this, viewing this, all of that information is inside of the comment section, the description rather. And if you're listening by the way of podcast audio, it will be in the show notes. So how to contact her. She's fabulous. Again, she helps me. Remember, you see how she just introduced herself
help each other.
real slightly. She's very modest, but she's the beast. She's the beast in her own right. And so I'll just let you have the closing remarks if you have anything else you want to share with our audience.
I'm not sure what even to say. I would love for people to understand that the only reason I have a job right now is because all of you experience emotions, but you're afraid of some of them. You don't want to admit to some of them. And the more you admit, yes, it is a vulnerable moment for you, the more free you feel, because now people get to know who you actually are and love you as you actually are, instead of, conforming and trying to fit into someone else's idea of what's great, what's perfect, the perfect wife, the perfect mother, the perfect, I don't know what. It doesn't exist. We're human. We're not built to be perfect. So please embrace all of you. You have these feelings for a reason. They're showing you where you need to be stronger. And the faster you accept that they happen, instead of pushing them away and pretending that they don't exist, the better you will start to feel, the more dignity you'll have going around, the more peace of mind. And I can't tell you what that's worth. I really can't. You got to see for yourself.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, sis, for being here.
We're
in 2 different time zones, totally, for the listening audience, as we're recording this. So, she has really, really been a blessing to us. So as I always say, coach me and I learn, challenge me and I grow, believe in me and I win. You are a winner. I believe in you. Be great.